What's going on, Nerd Squad, and welcome back to Top 10 Nerd. Batman's trusty sidekick has been around since the 1940s, and since the early days, he's always wanted to try and prove himself to Batman. Of course, branching out to tackle his own solo adventures beginning in Star Spangled Comics issue 65, where he would solve teenage crimes and he even took down the clock, so he's doing alright. There have been a handful of Robins now, so here to list our top 10 worst things that have happened to those Robins. I'm Taylor McWaters, let's get to it. Number 10. Robin the Vampire. Ever since I saw The Little Vampire with Jonathan Lipnicki, the Stuart Little kid,
Wow, it's great to be a vampire. We want to become humans, not eat them for dinner.
I've wanted to low-key be a vampire like every single day, whatever. But what if I told you that Robin turned into a vampire and it was all because of Batman? Yeah, we look now into the Batman and Robin Dracula trilogy, where Dick Grayson has become obsessed with killing Batman after he murdered his parents. It's, the whole vampire thing. So he finds this Batman, literally half man, half bat, and he finds his crypt, and he just can't bring himself to kill Batman. He just can't do it. He's too much of a good person in there. So then Batman turns him into a vampire. Hey, if you can't beat him, join him. And before we go to number 9, if you guys could go ahead and toss this video a thumbs up down there, it would be great. It helps our channel out a lot. I'm in a closet right now. Like the video, it'll just do all good. It'll do wonders. Now back to this crazy list. Number 9, Bat Slapped. Okay, I'm gonna start this list off mostly with Dick's origin because it's quite crucial in some of these choices that he makes down the road, further on in this list. You kind of need to know that first. Following the tragic events of the Flying Graysons, Dick had to be sent away to a horrible juvenile service system due to the fact that social services were full. This wasn't an ideal home for a young child. He was beaten up by other kids. It was just not a place you want to be, to say the least. So it didn't take long for him to try and, of course, make a break for it. So during this getaway, he came across Batman, who talked to Dick and promised him that he wouldn't be there much longer in that horrible living situation. This turned out to be very true, seeing as shortly after he had a foster parent named Mr. Wayne, who says they both have a lot in common. So his luck's turned around, how amazing. So Batman is also the same guy who kicked him out of said new home in World's Finest issue 153. The Bat Slap, here we go. As if getting slapped by Batman wasn't bad enough, Bruce actually wiped Dick's memory and then sent him back to an orphanage. All because Dick thought Batman was in the wrong for trying to kill Superman. So next time you want to remind Batman that killing is, still a bad thing, you might just get slapped across the face for him. So be careful. Tread lightly, Boy Wonder. Even if it's an imagination story, you're still gonna get slapped. Number 8, Dick Grayson got fired. If you've ever been fired from a job, first of all, it happens. Grab a milkshake on the way home, reflect a little, brush it off, you'll be all right. But that's, getting fired by Batman, that's an L. You've taken a big L. But if you get fired by Batman, you can't even put that on a resume. That's just a huge empty spot. You can't tell anyone. Says here you did nothing for 6 years. This is war, Dick. Robin is my second, my lieutenant. Anything less than total devotion to the cause is simply wasting my time. I'll say it again, you're fired. Oof, okay, Batman said that to me, my soul would crush. Every night I would hear those words over and over in my head. Well, it all happens in Nightwing year 1. Bruce finds out that Dick has been working part-time for the Teen Titans, so he delivers that line, fires him, because he's not totally committed. I mean, that's fair, but also, I know Batman's got his system going on, but that's a pretty good route that he's on. Luckily Dick went on to become Nightwing, and the two of them work it out eventually as time goes on, but I feel like we could have salvaged lots of time and heartache for this poor kid. Number 7, fought by Robin? Robin fighting another Robin. Things are bound to get a little messy. Following Infinite Crisis, Brothers in Blood is a Nightwing storyline that's part of the 1 year later event. So Dick Grayson moves to New York and then he sees there's a Nightwing there.
That's suspicious.
And he's taking care of criminals, but only in a much more brutal way. Much, much darker. So who is this? What's going on here? Well, the suited up Dick Grayson is then approached by the crazier Nightwing, who turns out to be none other than, you guessed it, Jason Todd. So of course they fight and Dick Grayson is knocked off the building, and with Jason Todd of course bragging the whole time of how he's the best fighter ever and how the city loves him so much more in the way he's doing things, with shooting and stabbing people rather than slapping some handcuffs on them. So the pair ended up fighting again after this, and Jason Todd won again. They ended up teaming together, but falling off a building and fighting each other was a bad day for not only one Robin, but both of them. I also love how Jason suited up in an old costume to just deliver the point even harder.
Give it up, bro.
Number 6, shot in the head. This one came out of nowhere, okay? So what started as a fun training exercise quickly turned into a very bad situation with Nightwing. So Batman issue 55, we see Nightwing and Batman patrolling Gotham City as usual. Nightwing playfully challenges Batman to a contest, spice up the patrol a little bit, keep it fresh. And at first Batman isn't really on board, but eventually he's like, all right, let's do this, Youngblood. The game is, whoever shoots their grapple first as they're falling loses. So you gotta see who can get closest to the ground. How low can you go? Gotham edition. So they make the dive, and Nightwing technically wins. Because Batman breaks early to attend to the bat symbol. Rules are rules. He still did win. That's a win. But the fun and games end quite early. So at the same time, Nightwing and Batman were talking to Jim Gordon. At this point, KG Beast was taking aim at Nightwing's head. And then just like that, the bullet grazes off Dick's head. And I don't mean graze like, oh, I think I got shot. I mean graze like it just didn't go through his head. That's the only difference. It got him good. So good that he wasn't the same afterwards. Fun grapple games and then minutes later, serious brain trauma. Sounds like a sidekick classic in the world of the Bat. Number 5, Tim Drake's torture. I'll begin with how I peeled back the layers of the boy's mind. Those are the very scary words of the Joker, and he says it in Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker animated film, created by Tim Gunn and Paul Dini. So we see the Joker and Harley kidnap Robin. Tim Drake was out one night patrolling the streets by himself, just doing what he does best, getting it done. Then, all of a sudden, he has to save a lady from 2 thugs. No problem. That's a cakewalk, or a walk in the park, or a walk in the cake, whatever you like to say. Turns out this was all a setup, and it worked perfectly. The Joker trapped him and then took him to Arkham Asylum, where he used shock therapy and serums, literally anything he could to break him. He tortured him for like 2 weeks straight. That's a long time. I've been working in his closet for 2 weeks. It's a very long time. I have a very good concept of how long time is in his closet. He was brainwashed until he eventually gave up all these secrets about Batman, but it gets even worse. Yeah, that's right. Joker ended up turning him into a mini Joker and gave him the appropriate name of JJ, Joker Jr.
You've lost, Batman.
Number 4, Stephanie Brown's death. So when Tim's father found out about his part-time gig as Robin, he was forced to retire. Meanwhile, Stephanie also broke it off with Tim Drake because she thought that he'd been sneaking around behind her back. She saw him talking to a girl at a locker and she was like, something looks weird here. A little bit of too much hip movements in the conversation. So she needed something else to focus on in her time. So she made a homemade Robin suit and snuck into the Batcave and demanded that Batman would make her the new Robin and train her. I like it. She's committed. Let's do it. So Batman's like, all right. He's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's party. So cut to several months of training, a new costume upgrade that matched the same design as Tim's costume. She's now rolling with B-Man. And the two worked well together. For a little while, because, that's how these things go. Then she disobeyed orders on a couple of missions and was promptly also fired. No more suit. Get out of here. Beat it. Just like that. This guy's ruthless. Now, this is where things, again, go from bad to worse. So because of this, Stephanie felt like she had to prove herself to Batman. Everybody's got to prove themselves and do crazy shit. So she took one of his plans for the Gotham underworld and tried to step up. This unfortunately led to the events of Batman War Games, where Stephanie was captured by Black Mask, she was tortured, and then sadly she died in a hospital with a regretful and failed Bruce Wayne by her side. Leslie Tompkins sure didn't help either. It was actually revealed that she had withheld a medical treatment that could have saved Stephanie. So in an attempt to make Bruce see the violence that he'd caused and hang up the mantle, she didn't give it to her. So dark. DC is so dark. She's like, you know what? I'm gonna let her die to teach you a lesson, because you haven't learned any lessons with death. Yeah, because Batman hasn't learned any lessons by people dying, for sure. He needed that lesson. He has no idea what that's like. Number 3, Damian Wayne's death. The 5th Robin in this list of Robins, Damian Wayne. Damian Wayne, he is the son of Batman and Talia al Ghul, which means he's now heir to both Batman, crime-fighting superhero, and also Ra's al Ghul's family, a not crime-fighting team. They're kind of the worst. That's a wild parent-teacher conference to have right there, first of all. So he worked alongside Dick Grayson, who at this point had replaced Batman. And he was perfect, like genetically speaking. His origin was unknown to Batman at this point. He was grown in this artificial womb, made to be a warrior by Talia in the League of Assassins. So he was already a well-established fighter when he was just a preteen. Wild. Talia had him spy on Bruce at first, and she actually left him with Bruce. Like, hey, just trying to throw off his game. Like, hey, here's a kid, good luck. All the while, a cloned and older version of the Boy Wonder was made to cause chaos. Chaos that ended up impaling Damian and killing him instantly. But he put up an unreal fight. Kicking the arrow through his back and then out of his chest, and then calling him a coward. Like, what a way to go out. Number 2, Jason Todd's death. So different than Dick Grayson, Jason Todd did the things the harder way. Like I just mentioned a couple times on this list, he had a pretty rough go, but nothing can be worse than the day of his death in A Death in the Family, written by Jim Starlin back in 1988. So we got to see the death of the second Robin, Jason Todd. So for starters, this was a choice that readers had to make back in the day. Yeah, you could straight up call a number and vote for if you wanted this dude to die. So hats off, you guys did it. Awesome, great work. Do you feel good? You should feel good. So Batman had actually asked Barbara Gordon to come out of retirement to keep an eye on him during a couple of missions. But she saw this side of him, this dark, brutal, angry kid, and she warned Batman, rightfully so. So Jason was tracking this lead to find his real birth mother, who was actually being blackmailed by the Joker this whole time, and of course, to get his sticky hands on Robin. Yeah, the Joker had escaped Arkham Asylum and Batman tracked him to Lebanon, where Jason was as well at the same time during his scavenger hunt for his mother. The Joker got his hands on Jason Todd and beat him to death. It's brutal. And then after the Joker's done, he even calls the site a bit messy. So he leaves Jason to die, and of course he sets off a bomb afterwards, just for good luck. Batman arrives far too late after the bomb had gone off, and he held the Boy Wonder's body in his arms, and it's one of the most iconic things you'll see on the cover of any comic book. So afterwards, he comes back as Red Hood to find that he's been replaced after his death by Tim Drake. Now it makes sense. So Batman considers this one of his greatest failures, not properly training Jason as Robin, and I agree. Number 1, Memory Lane. You know it's almost just as bad as being beaten to death and then blown up? It's gotta suck when you gotta go back there and just relive it again. Surprise, here's trauma. Remember this? This takes place in Batman and Robin issue 20. Batman and the Red Hood. So at this point, Jason and Batman are on the way to becoming closer again. The relationship is going well, it's on the up and up. So they head to a foreign country to fight crime. Sounds like another day for the duo. Then upon arrival, Jason Todd realizes that this is Ethiopia, the same place Joker dished out that beating I just talked about. Batman wants Jason to dig into his memories and see if anything comes back, anything that may lead to his resurrection, in order for Bruce to do the same for Damian Wayne. That's brutal. Hey, remember any of this? Any tips? Jason, of course, doesn't react too well at all, and then the two end up splitting again, after, of course, a brutal fight. Well, there you have it, guys. Which of these horrible Robin moments just threw your entire day off already? Honestly, the bat slap has to be the worst of them all. Just saying. I'm Taylor McWaters. You guys are you. Thank you so much for watching. Keep washing those hands, keep reading those comics, and we'll catch you the next time.